I'm back. So, Amazon Prime has unleashed its billion-dollar project, its massive mega series, the Rings of Power, based off of the world of George R. It's a prequel to the Lord of the Rings, basically. Kind of messed up the open. Doesn't matter. It aired. I watched it. I watched the first 2 episodes, and let me tell you what I think. Welcome to the newest episode of SD. What the hell happened? Did I have a stroke? It's Friday. Anyway, welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
You know what? I'm blaming the heat. I'm gonna blame the heat for this one. It's fried off my brain. See, I can't even speak anymore. It's fried off my brain. Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, like I said, Lord of the Rings came out, or should I say, the Rings of Power came out, and I was very torn about this. Very, very torn. And so I'm gonna give you like quick, spoiler-free thoughts, and then I might get into a few little details in case of somebody cares. But the quick spoiler-free thoughts, I went in expecting I would hate it, because every single thing I had seen up to that moment, I kind of hated. And so, as I was watching it, I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't hate it. I'm not saying that I loved it, I'm saying that I didn't hate it, which is already saying a lot. So, the biggest and most important thing you should do in order to prepare for this series, this is very important, I highly recommend it. And so, you need to go to your local library and get these 2 books. Let's go Unfinished Tales by George R. Tolkien and The Silmarillion, okay? Get these 2, and once you get them, you toss them out the fucking window, okay? Just toss them out, because they will be pretty much of no help to you. Because this series clearly is going in a different direction. They're not actually doing The Silmarillion, they're doing something else. It's completely original, completely different. I don't really understand why, because the story in The Silmarillion is epic, but whatever. So every single thing I'd seen so far leading up to this, I had me concerned, to say the least. But to be honest, I think it was more terrible marketing than anything else, because I was pleasantly surprised. Like I said, all right, I'll be fair. The first scene sucks. It's terrible. I was like, okay, this is what you get for $1 billion. Okay, cool. Then they go into kind of like the narration, because I expected to have like kind of a quick little breakdown like you do in Lord of the Rings. You remember how Lord of the Rings begins, with Galadriel speaking a little Elvish, and then like, the world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. What's the word? I have it here. So like, let me just check it right here, because I knew I always mess up these things. Much that once was is now lost. For now none who live. For none now live who remember it. Anyway, so and then she goes into breaking down what the hell happened, kind of for in order for you to understand what happened in the end of the Second Age. So that would have been very helpful. In fact, if it would have been me, I would have done like a 20-minute just, summary of the First Age, because it's very interesting stuff and it's kind of relevant and it's really weird. So it's really weird that they didn't explain it. Now, maybe they'll explain it throughout the show. I just don't understand why they didn't do it now. It's the perfect way for you to begin. Like, for example, they mentioned Morgoth. All right, well, who the hell is Morgoth? Are we going to see more of him? Is he relevant? They mentioned they don't even mention the Silmarils, now that I think about it. But no. So there's a bunch of stuff that would have been very helpful for them to explain. And so I guess I can try to do that really quickly for you. It's kind of complex, convoluted, very difficult, but basically there is a almighty god, something, I forget his name, and he created the Valar. Imagine the Valars are like demigods, and the demigods created pretty much the earth and all that stuff, and one of those demigods, his name was Melkor, that's Morgoth. Anyway, he was a naughty devil, he's basically Lucifer, and so he was like, screw you guys, I'm going to create naughtiness, and so he started some drama. It led to a few wars. After those few, and some of them, it eventually, started escalating, and then eventually he got a few assistants. One of his assistants was a Maiar. Now, for those of you who don't know what Maiars are basically the next step from the Valar. They're like primordial spirits. For you to understand who a Maiar is, a perfect example would be Gandalf. Gandalf's a Maiar. Saruman, the Balrog, that's kind of their power level. Anyway, So Melkor, now Morgoth, he got as his assistant Sauron, which back then that wasn't his name. He was one of the Maiar. He actually was the most powerful Maiar. Anyway, he got him as his assistant, and he was kind of like being a double agent because nobody really knew that he was helping him. Whatever. Then he revealed himself. Then that leads to the War of the War of Wrath. First he steals the Silmarillions. That's the War of the Jewels. Then there's the War of Wrath. After the War of Wrath, Morgoth's defeated. Sauron disappears. Okay, so that's kind of like the easiest way for you to explain it, but it would have been really cool to see it in like a 20-minute thing of what's the Silmarillion? Oh, what are the Numenorians? Oh, like all this, there's a bunch of stuff that's really complex but really interesting that it would have been fun to see. Fun if it was explained. Like, I did it really quickly. They couldn't have done that, but whatever. It looked cool, at least. It looked nice. You can at least see the money on screen, mostly. And so the show has a rough start. Like I said, the first scene is kind of stupid. And the biggest issue that I had, there's one thing that the show does that I consider just to be unforgivable. Completely unforgivable. And that's when they're showing a map, for some reason, they turn. So, like usually when you're showing a map, you keep north, but here they turn. They all right, so now the new north is west and stuff. And they turn kind of like you're flying. It totally messes you up. You don't even know where you are. And so I like maps. I like knowing where I am, and I like knowing what's happening. So to me, the one thing that's definitely unforgivable is them just turning the maps. Like, just keep north. Just keep north. What's the big deal? It's not that difficult. So that thing really bugged me, but that's the only thing that I'm going to consider unforgivable. There's a lot of controversies surrounding this show regarding casting and all that stuff. I tend to agree with most of those opinions because I like keeping things the way that they are in the book. I don't like changing stuff. However, in this situation, they're completely going off the book. They are, well, not completely. They're like, it's based off, but they're doing their own different thing. And so it's one of those things like, fine, I'll accept it. I don't like it, but whatever. What can you do? It's there. It's the reality. You can either accept and move on, or just, keep hating it, which I plan on keep hating it, but I'm moving on at the same time. So actually it's really weird because they're not really that relevant, most of the characters, but whatever. So the story kind of centers around Lady Galadriel, and I guess I can show you. Actually, Amazon has this really cool thing in the player where they kind of just show you like who all the characters are. It'll make really easy for you because there's a lot of characters. Let me just make this easy for you. So there you go. So Galadriel, and it kind of explains who they are and names and all that stuff. So Galadriel, the show centers around her pretty much. If you guys remember, she was played by Cate Blanchett in the original Lord of the Rings. She's kind of a big deal. I have a lot of issues with Galadriel. Actually, like the thing that I hate the most, I already explained it. The second thing that I hate the most is Galadriel, and mainly is because they make her. The way that they portray, the way that they write her is kind of like too young and too angry. Like, I understand the angry part, totally understandable. She's just been through a war. She was born, like they destroyed basically her little slice. She had to leave heaven and go to earth and stuff like that. I get it. I'd be angry too. But the way that she's being portrayed, I do not like it at all, because Galadriel at this point is one of the oldest beings on Earth. She's one of them, and they're kind of making her to be like this little kid, like she's still a very young girl, and she's mad. Like, sure, she's young for the Galadriel that we see in the Lord of the Rings, but she's still over 1,000 years old. Like, she should be more mature, calm, a little bit more rational, at least a little bit more political. Remember, Galadriel is like the fairest, she's a great politician. She's one of the most powerful elves in existence. And here you kind of don't see it. So it bugs me. It really bugs me the way that they're portraying her. And it's honestly the thing that probably bugged me the most about the show. It also, they do this thing where they're kind of trying to, they make this massive mistake. What they do with a lot of female characters, where they're trying to show that oh yeah, this chick's a badass. She's a badass, right? And they do it in the worst way possible, because the way that they do it is they make everybody else around her incompetent. And so whatever she does is like the cool thing, right? That is really stupid. That's a terrible thing to do. The way that you make somebody a badass, and I've said this 100 times, a million times, is you show people who are competent, in fact, who are cool, who are badasses themselves, and then you make a main character that surpasses them, that does something even cooler. That's how you do it. So the issue with Galadriel in her first scene, where it's an actual scene and not just like the summary thing or like the monologue in the beginning, they're in an ice fortress and they fight a snow troll, right? And in this fight against the snow troll, she's with a troop of elite elves, like her hand-picked elves, her hand-picked companions. They were going with her to the edge of the earth, and they're all a bunch of dumbasses. Like seriously, I don't think a single one landed a single hit, so Galadriel has to take the troll on by herself. And you're like, seriously? Why do you have to do it this way? Why couldn't you make the other elves competent and be like a team effort, and you're showing, oh, this team's really good. They're synchronized. They actually care about each other. And that way, later on in the episode, when there's conflict of maybe having to, about convincing her that, hey, you know what? We can't keep going in this direction. You're kind of going a little crazy. It's coming from a place of love and not from a place of, we hate each other. It's really weird. I don't know why in writing they keep doing this thing where the characters hate each other instead of actually liking each other. Liking each other is way better. Like, it's a lot harder to say no to somebody who you love and who you know is genuinely concerned to you, even though you know that what you're doing is right. So it bugs me. That bugs me. However, they're keeping one theme that's very important from Tolkien. I think I said Martin at one point. I don't know. Yeah, going crazy. They keep one theme from The Lord of the Rings that's very important with Galadriel. Actually, they keep two. So I guess I can get into the themes. So the most important thing to me in this particular series is that they stayed true to a few of Tolkien's themes. 3 ones in particular. All right, I actually wrote these down so I don't forget. And so keeping true to those themes is kind of what still gives this show the feeling that you're watching Lord of the Rings, that you're still watching Middle-earth. It's still not the movies, but I think it's slightly better than The Hobbit, except when you're talking about the dwarves. With the dwarves, they did go kind of like The Hobbit-ish, which sucks, but I wish they would have gone more Lord of the Rings with it, less cartoony, but whatever, you get what you get, right? Anyway, so the 3 main themes that this show keeps, that's on par with Tolkien's work. I don't know why I keep saying George R. R. Martin. I don't know. Is the first one is that evil grows if you allow it to linger. Okay, it's very important. However, evil can never win because it's not necessarily the good beats evil. It's that evil is unsustainable. So they're keeping that theme, and most importantly, yes. Evil will grow if you allow it to fester. All right, if you allow it to grow, evil will. And so it's up to good to not be complacent. And that's a theme that they keep with Galadriel to a T, which is good. It's a good thing. Again, gives you that Lord of the Rings feeling. Next, second theme that they keep with her, and with her more than anybody else, at least as far as I've seen, is that you can never really go home again. That's one of the key themes of the Lord of the Rings, and it came from Tolkien coming back home from war. You can never really come home again, because once you leave home, once you go on an adventure, you learn, you live, you change, you come back, you're a different person. If you ever went to college, you probably understand that. Have you ever, gone to college, made new friends, then come back and hung out with your high school friends? It's a weird experience. You feel completely different. Now, it gives you the opportunity of re-meeting these people because they've changed as well, or maybe they stayed the same. I don't know. But it's an open opportunity, but it's never the same. It could be better, but it's not the same. Again, the theme, you can never really go home, and they really, really go hard with this with Galadriel, which is great. Unfortunately, with her, again, instead of the thing that's causing the temptation being love, is something else. It's to me that seemed like a major failure there. It could have been way more interesting if they would have done it that way. Again, it's way harder to say no to somebody you love than somebody who you kind of don't like that much, or who's somebody who just really doesn't like you. So mistake there. And finally, the last one, Tolkien was kind of like a religious dude, so the final thing is faith. And here again, Galadriel takes a lot of things on faith, or it's like I know it, I just know it, I know it in my heart, or whatever. Faith. So those three themes, they kind of stand throughout. They kept those, which is good. It gives it the feeling. Again, you get this feeling that everything's happening for a reason. Everything's part of a plan. Either it's from the good guys or the bad guys, but you feel like everything is part of this machine that's in motion. I don't really feel like that was that many wasted elements in this story, and so that's cool. So that's Galadriel. That's our lead. Now I'm going to my favorite character up to this moment, which I was shocked, and that's Elrond. Now, Elrond, unfortunately for this poor bastard, he has to, like the girl who does Galadriel, this dude had to step into the shoes of Hugo Weaving. And for the life of me, I don't understand why they couldn't at least color this man's hair. They could have just, painted his hair dark brown so he looks at least a little bit like Hugo Weaving. Just even trying a little bit, but it's like they were trying to piss us off, but whatever. It's fine, because his performance is actually pretty good. And not necessarily his performance, it's how the character is written. Through Elrond, we actually get to see most of the world building. We get to see conversations with Galadriel, with the King of the Elves, with dwarves, with Celebrimbor. Those of you who know who that is. By the way, watching this show more than make me want to watch the movies or read the books or anything. It made me really want to replay Shadow of War, and by consequence, Shadow of Mordor, which is also a lot of fun. So recommended in case you care. So, to me, so far, the most fun character to follow along has been Elrond. And it's very interesting because this isn't warrior Elrond. This isn't Lord Elrond. He's still kind of trying to make his way in the world. He's still important, but he's still not a lord, an elvish lord. And so you can see him still taking risks, being a little bit more, let's say, not necessarily naughty, but still understanding the political game. It's pretty, again, really well written. This particular character, his conversation with Galadriel, I thought was phenomenal. And so every single scene that Elrond's in, I've been a fan of. And I was shocked because, again, I was like, this man sounds nothing like Hugo Weaving, but they've handled him well. Finally, of the other main storylines we get that involves elves, we get Arondir. Now, this guy has been very controversial because as you guys can see, he's a black elf. And in the Tolkien books, there are no black elves, and so a lot of people are really mad. I already told you, I hate when they change things. I hate it when they did not color Elrond's hair. Everything bugs me. So, whatever, this is going to bug me too. However, his storyline. Again, this could be really confusing because of the map thing. You know how I told you that the map just keeps moving around? Hate it, but whatever. His storyline, actually, if I understood correctly, his storyline takes place in Mordor. Now, for those of you who played Shadow of Mordor, you know that Mordor is not all just like on fire, like a desert. There's actually like green spots. It's actually pretty nice, and so it's one of those areas in particular. And so his storyline takes place in Mordor. And honestly, it's probably he has probably the most exciting scene in the show so far. Like, I legitimately felt claustrophobic. To me, that was great filmmaking. And so, like, because you feel it, like, and so, at least it's been fun. His adventures have been fun. I do not know why. For the life of me, I do know why. Because they want to go into, like, the racial thing. This character kind of likes a human girl, and so they're going into this. They're clearly setting up this whole, like, oh, these two races, humans and elves, cannot mix together, blah blah, because I guess he's black or whatever. I don't know why they're doing that. It could have been more fun any other way, but whatever. They chose to do it, and it's because I'm sure it's going to be brought up at a certain point. I'm hoping not, because what he's doing is kind of interesting, and I want them to keep doing the interesting stuff instead of going with the boring one. But you know what? I may be prejudging. I could be wrong. So far, they haven't really gone into anything that's kind of like real world problems into injecting it into Lord of the Rings stuff. So we'll see. Right now, benefit of the doubt. Next, here you can see there's Numenorians, but we haven't seen any Numenorians in the show, so it doesn't really matter. Next, I'll go to the next main character, and honestly, it's probably the next one that only matters, and that's Eleanor Nori Brandyfoot. So this chick's a Harfoot, and to be honest, I think Harfoots are basically hobbits. Let me see, Chuck Dominguez. The problem that they have to put somebody of color because the producers and directors will be called racist. That's cancel culture for you. Listen, it's not. Well, yes, I guess yes, that is the issue. But damn it, I messed up the chat. Whoops. Oopsie. Hopefully I'll be able to fix it. All right, there you go. Yes, that's one of the issues. And honestly, it's one of the dumbest things to me personally. I hate it. Like, I believe in meritocracy. Like, if you're the best person for the job, you should get the job or whatever. And I hate it that it doesn't go both ways. Like, if the best person for a role that normally would not be played by a white person or a Hispanic person is the best person for the role, like, I don't know why people are upset that James Franco's playing Che Guevara. Like, it's one of those things that's really, seriously, I don't really care if it's the best person and they kind of look like the character fine. Again, I don't like that they change character's hair color, but whatever. It's dumb, it's stupid, but if the show is good, if the story is good enough, and if it's not really an issue that you can just pretend and ignore, all right, I'll hate it, but I can suspend disbelief, you know. And it's also like fun to think about other stuff, like, oh, what does this mean for the future? Because we've seen the future. What happens to all these elves? Like, do they get killed? Like, is there like a genocide? What the hell is happening? So again, it's dumb. It's really dumb. But whatever. What can you do? It's one of those things like, what can you, well, I guess you can not watch, but I love Lord of the Rings too much. What can I do? And I was planning on, I was concerned about watching it, but whatever. Is like I said, I haven't hated it. And that's fine. Whatever. Good TV is good TV. Anyway, back to Eleanor Nori Brandyfoot. Basically, she's a naughty hobbit, or kind of like a hobbit-ish type of character, and or the the ancestors of the hobbits. Scarface, oh awesome, you don't hear anybody complain? No, because a good performance and you believe it. It's, again, good actors perform, whatever. And so this girl, the Harfoots are the ancestors of the hobbits, according to this thing that I read right now. And her storyline, basically, she's like the adventurous hobbit, and something falls from the stars, and it's a person, and she's helping them. Who this person is, who knows? There's a million and one theories. I mean, you can guess. I can guess, but I don't really know. And to me, like, it shouldn't be who it looks like the most, because that character should not be in Middle-earth at this particular point in time. But again, take the books, throw them out the window, because they're doing their own thing, right? They're doing their own thing. And that's pretty much it for the main characters, for the main cast and all that stuff. So going back to the story overall, what's the most important thing? As I was watching it, I watched it with my kid brother, and we were having conversations about it. Like, we were like, oh, this, you think that character is that? Wait, you think this is this? We already know. Like, again, there's if for normies, you'd probably be a little bit confused, or you probably don't care because you don't even notice this stuff. But like, if you know what a Mayar is, you may be like, oh, what am I? Is this that? Is this how that's gonna happen? Ooh, is this the point where this character, you know, does the trickery, anything? So it's been exciting. It's been enjoyable. Again, I can't stress this enough. I expected to hate this show. I expected to watch. I expect as I was watching the first scene and hating it, I was like, this is pretty much how I'm gonna feel watching this whole thing. I may not watch the second episode, but then it started getting better. And the most important thing, it has the Lord of the Rings feeling, except the scenes with the dwarves. That the dwarves have a Hobbit feel. Why? I don't know why they want to make them cartoony. It's stupid. It's really stupid. Whatever. There's also a big thing about like a giant fish in the ocean that's really stupid, but whatever. Overall, you feel like it is building up to something. There's mystery there. There's intrigue. It's the world that it's still the world that you care about. It's still a world that you're interested in. It's curious. It's interesting. And again, it all feels like it's a part of a big machine, and it's bleeding up to something. What that something is it the plan of the good guys or the bad guys? We won't know. And again, you still always have that little ominous feeling that there's something wrong with this world. Like, are we letting, you know, are we becoming complacent? Are we letting evil grow? Is it growing under our very noses? Who knows? Which is fun. So it's all gonna come down to how they portray Sauron. Honestly, the show's pretty much gonna come down to that, I think, because I mean, Sauron is one of the greatest villains of all time, like in literature or in fiction in general. So it's all about how you portray him. And in the Lord of the Rings, we don't really get to see Sauron that much. Here, we should see him, and it should be a lot of him. And so the way that they handle that is going to be the key, the most important thing. So far, like I said, I'm watching the show. Like, the best thing I can say about the show is that, all right, it made me want to watch it. It made me want to play the video games. It made me want to read the books. It made me want to talk with people about Lord of the Rings. and you know, all the mythology and all the world building and all that stuff. So all the lore, what they call it, the lore of the rings. So if that's what you're looking for, cool. I did not feel like I wasted my time. In fact, afterwards, like I said, I had a really long conversation with my kid brother about it. We were having fun. We were enjoying it. We spoke theories. We argued at length about why Galadriel should not be a petty child when she's over 1,000 years old. At this point, she should be a respected commander. She should be in control of her shit. But no, they're portraying her like a petty child, which I hated. But whatever. And so it's one of those things where I'll give it my approval. Like I'm gonna keep watching it, and so I'm gonna probably do reviews on it. I'll probably do all that stuff, cause it's been worthy of watching. Is it perfect? No. Is it? Do they take a lot from the books? I don't think so. In fact, do they explain everything? No. Probably not. I can already see myself having to explain a whole bunch of... In fact, that's probably going to be it. Just, like the podcast are mainly going to be like, hey, you guys have questions? Ask me. If I know, I'll tell you. If not, I'll research it and then figure it out. But I'll leave it there. Because again, it's Friday and I got a softball final tomorrow, so I want to go to bed early today. That's why I'm not drinking. I usually on Fridays have like a beer or something. But if I'm gonna do a live, but not today. I'm being a professional. So I'm gonna stop right there. By the way, also, for the sports stuff, because I've had people ask me, like I said, me and my brother, we're gonna pick games, and we're gonna every single week for the NFL, every single game, and we're gonna add up points and stuff like that. So if you want to play along, you can. Just either comment while we're doing the show, or at the end of that particular episode, comment and put in your picks, and I'll keep a list on it. It should be fun. If you miss week 1, week 2, or whatever, I don't know, you can start off week 3, 4, but you'd start off in last place and like the same number as last place, but -3 or whatever. Something that's fair. I'll think about it, but whatever. So that's it. As always, comments, questions, suggestions, you can find me at Dario SDW and at Super Dario World. As always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you